December is almost here, and you know what that means. The Game Awards are getting closer. Last year, the Game Awards meant our first Smash DLC announcement, which would be Joker from Persona 5. Very unexpected, but very welcome. Now, with this big event around the corner and no information yet on the new DLC fighter, I bet that we will get to welcome our new contender there once again. But who will it be? Well, as we have seen, all the DLC fighters are from third-party developers, except for Piranha Plant. And each and every fighter has been from a different company. Now, will the fifth fighter be from a different developer as well? Probably. But there will be even more DLC released after this one. And one company that's very familiar with DLC fighters is Square Enix, as they already have two characters in the game. Cloud, who started out as DLC in Smash 4, and the hero that we got as our third entry from the Fighters Pass. Now, we can't of course say with full certainty that the next fighter will be from Square, but it's fun to speculate. Next week I will tackle another developer, but for today I will give you my top 5 of fighters that I think should get in Smash if they would come from Square Enix. And be sure to leave your top 5 Smash characters from Square as well in the comments. Go wild, just write down who you want to see. I myself won't pick any characters from franchises that are already in Smash, as I already did that with other videos. Okay, you ready? Then let's begin with number 5. Look, I want to stay realistic here, and I don't really think he has much of a chance. But man, I love this guy, and I want to give him his spotlight for a second. Agent 47, or as you probably better know him, Hitman. I grew up with this series, with Hitman Blood Money being my favorite. The franchise was so epic, getting dropped on a map where you have one or multiple targets and figuring out the best way to murder them without anyone noticing. As I grew older and played these games more, I really started to find creative ways to be as stealthy as possible. But as a kid, I just went for the destroy everything route. No one can tell on me if there's no one to see my crimes. Oh, as I said, my love for this franchise is huge, but him getting a Smash might be a stretch. But if you look at Snake, Agent 47 isn't that much different. Agent 47 operates a lot of weapons, with a silent pistol being my favorite for some stealthy action. He uses a fiber wire to strangle opponents, just like Snake can do, but he's also a physical fighter with some chopping action. He also disguises himself in many outfits to throw security guards off his track. Plus, he can use everyday tools as his weapons. I would love to see that in a moveset. Man, I can remember so clearly trying to be a badass and being a stealthy ghost, only to get discovered and keep getting rid of all the people so they won't snitch on you. Yeah, it isn't really a realistic choice, but I like him, and I'll take any chance to talk about Agent 47. So take that! On to the next! Okay, let me throw one more oddball at you before we get to the more expected stuff. Kain from the Legacy of Kain franchise. Some of you might remember this dark hero, but I can also imagine that a lot of people have no idea who I'm talking about. Legacy of Kain was actually a very popular series at the time. The franchise started out with Blood Omen Legacy of Kain, which was a two-dimensional action-adventure game. But after that, the game would go for a 3D route with Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, which it would keep consistent to in the games that would be released later. And as the name suggests, Kain is the protagonist for the series. Now, you wouldn't always play as him, as there was one other protagonist in some of the other games, but Kain was your main man in my opinion. He is a vampire and wields the Soul Reaver Blade, a powerful weapon with magical properties. He also makes a lot of use of other abilities. He can use telekinesis, magic orbs, and transform into a mist to walk through objects. And of course, as every good vampire boy, he likes to suck some blood. The Legacy of Kain games were developed in such a manner that they would be enjoyable for adults to play. And the series gained a lot of positive reviews from fans and critics throughout the years. Legacy of Kain Defiance would be the last main game in the series, which released in 2003. There would be another multiplayer game based on the same universe called Nosgoth in 2015. But the game was a failure, with the servers being shut down after just over a year. Another interesting character for this franchise would be Raziel, the other protagonist I mentioned. He possesses many of the same abilities, as he is also a vampire, but lore suggests that he is even stronger than Kain. Two obscure guys that are mostly forgotten, but would be great for Smash nonetheless. Now let's get into some more familiar stuff. And how can we talk about Square Enix without talking about Chrono from Chrono Trigger? This game was a revolution at the time, and it's still for many people their favorite game to this day. Chrono Trigger is about a group of characters that have to travel through time to prevent a major catastrophe, with as its main character the guy by the same name, Chrono, only it's spelled differently than the title. But what made the game unique were multiple elements that we now see more often in video games. But for that time they were pretty new concepts, like multiple endings based on your behavior, a lot of character development, a detailed, unique battle system, and just very good graphics in general for that time on the SNES. In Japan it would be the third best-selling game of 1995. And like I said, if you look at lists of the best video games ever made, you most likely find Chrono Trigger on there. But let's go back to our main man himself. Chrono. If you think his appearance looks familiar, then it could be, because his look was created by Akira Toriyama, who was also the main artist behind Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Quest, which gives it a similar vibe. Chrono's main weapons are katanas, but as we see more often with these types of games, he doesn't just use his sword to stab people, but he also is able to use some good old magic. And in his case, that's light magic. He's able to revive teammates, he can attack enemies with lightning, plus he can do spinning and cleaving attacks with his sword. It's just a classic character and one of the most beloved ones out there. And I think he would be a perfect fit for Smash Ultimate. Now if only Square Enix decides to release Chrono Trigger for the SNES library with Switch Online, then I would be really happy. A perfect one too to show Chrono Trigger some love. Just as with Hitman, this is a series that's of course very old, but also had new games in recent times. Tomb Raider, with its character Lara Croft. Now the new games are incredibly fun and it's a way more realistic look on the franchise with a survival element to the whole ordeal. But once again, I would like to make a case for the classic Lara Croft. Besides that, I think it would be better for Smash to have a slightly more toony look to her, like she had in Legends for instance. I also think the classics deserve some more love, especially the first 3 entries. I'm a huge fan of Tomb Raider 2, which is one of my favorite games. But I used to be scared for this entry as a kid. You could run around the corner and there would be this big guy just standing there with dogs waiting for you. And then these scary sounds would play. That stuff is nightmare fuel for kids. The games were also pretty difficult, but with that being said, they were very satisfying once you got the hang of it, with platforming and some athletic moves. The soundtrack is absolutely amazing, which is composed by Nathan McCree. I would love to hear these sounds in Smash. And for the people that are interested, they recorded a lot of music last year on Abbey Road with a live orchestra. So if you love video game music, you should really check this Tomb Raider suite out. Lara Croft is pretty fast, athletic, and she can jump great distances. Her main weapons are dual-wielding guns, but she can use way more than that. She doesn't really use physical combat in the early games, but I'm sure that it would be a great asset to her moveset if she would be added to Smash. And maybe her bow from the later games could be used as well. That way you would have a nice mix of Tomb Raider from beginning to end. It would be nice if they could incorporate multiple elements from the Tomb Raider franchise, as there have been many games with all different settings. This chick is badass and in my opinion is so iconic that she deserves a spot in Smash. Yeah, I know. This character is the most popular and I'm sure some of you will lynch me if this isn't my number 1. But hey, I agree, it would be the most unique, the most fun and also the most obvious. The puppet boy himself, Gino. First introduced in Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, he surely has made a name for himself. Many people love that Mario RPG game, but Gino hasn't been much present in other Mario games since then. But still, that didn't hold people from loving him very much and to show some real support for him getting included in Smash Ultimate. Now, even though he was created for a Mario game, he wasn't created by Nintendo themselves, as Super Mario RPG was made by Square Enix, who owned the rights to Gino at this time. So they need to have Square's consent to get this puppet in. But what makes this guy so great? Well, he really stole the show in Super Mario RPG. By having an important part in the story and having a great moveset at the same time. He is sent by a higher authority to Mario's world to bring back peace, while the evil blacksmith guy Smitty has stolen the 7 stars. His spirit possesses a puppet which comes to life, which is Gino's form. He has a cannon for an arm and can use multiple magic attacks to fight enemies. And besides that, he uses a lot of energy attacks that are mostly made out of light, so that would make for a pretty unique character. In Smash 4, he was available as a Mii costume for the Mii Gunner with cannon arm and all. So that could be a good indication on how he would look, except from this creepy face. And yes, fan demand for him is high. As we all know, Sakurai is listening to the fans, and with even more DLC releasing after this Fighter's Pass, I believe his chances of appearing are actually huge. Probably not as the 5th character, but in the future we might just see him take a spot in the roster. And I know that it would make a lot of people very happy. So there we go, friends, 5 characters from one company that I think would be a great fit for Smash. But we all know that Square Enix has much more characters in games than that. So it isn't always easy to narrow it down to just 5 fighters. But I'm pretty happy with this one. But now I want to know, if you got to pick 5 characters from Square to come to Smash, then who would be your favorite picks? Let me know down below, as I'm really curious who that's going to be. And very soon I will be back with a new list from a different third-party company. If you have any suggestions on what company that might be, maybe one that you find very interesting, or one that you love, then write it down in the comments as well. I might use it for an upcoming video, so inspiration is always appreciated. And guys and girls, these lists are not done yet. There are so many more to come, and I already have so much on the channel as well. So please subscribe to XPref so you're the first to know when the next episode releases. There are also a lot more Nintendo videos to be found on my channel. And leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, because that really helps me out, so I will love you even more. Thank you so much for watching, you're awesome, and thank you for the support.